Ready to see the magic? Hey, iHooToo!
Hi dear, I'm ready to assist you.
Turn on the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is now on.
Set to cooling mode.
Okay, cooling mode is activated.
Fan speed, level 3.
Okay, speed level 3 is set.
Turn on the light.
Okay, the light is on.
Turn off the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is off. Goodbye, master.
My runtime is increased to almost 3 hours, 23 amps, and it's 300 watts. So 24 amps, 315 watts of power, which is actually pretty good, I think. This is truly a game changer. I'm sitting next to the hottest new 12-volt air conditioner on the market. This is made by a company named iHooToo, and they sent it to me to test out. What's great about this is it features an upgraded inverter dual rotor compressor, and it's got a brushless quiet fan. It's got some other really cool features that we're going to get into. So this is what it looks like inside, and it is currently running, so I'll be able to talk over this video and you'll be able to hear me. The first thing that I noticed when I opened this up the first time was this insulation. So underneath the insulation is foam and plastic. So typically these are just a white corrugated foam, but this one is actually, it's a plastic case with foam insulation on top of it. I really like that. I was thinking myself about putting some Reflectix on there that I've got, but I didn't have to because we're all set. So here is that dual rotor compressor. And what's really nice about this one, that looking at other videos, this is the first one that has insulation around the compressor. And it's nice and warm. I can barely hear it buzzing, but the great thing about this one, and it says it right here, is it's R134A. So you can see the low side and the high side pressure ports that you can service. You can use typical automotive refrigerant tools and actually work on this air conditioner yourself. Also, it has these awesome isolators that are on springs with rubber mounts underneath. So that keeps it even more quiet than a traditional AC. So I did have, and you see some of the remnants of my previous AC, I had basically a truck cab mini split style AC up here, and it had the automotive, the straight up automotive style compressor, basically with a motor on the front. So this is more like a residential inverter compressor that is much more efficient and is going to run much better, much cooler, and we'll see what the performance is here in a minute. So I've already started timing it, and right now it's running on one 100 amp hour battery, and we're going to go down and see how it's performing here in a few minutes. But it's doing great right now. Obviously you can see the fan, the condenser, and then this is how I wired it over here. Behind it, this is the controller, and I don't want to take this off, but behind the controller are the wires, and I wired it to my previous wiring. So these wires, and they're nice and cool right now, they're previously used from the old air conditioner I had up here. This I changed over. I had a full video of me removing the old one and doing all the things, but I lost it. So this was replaced just recently because I had my old high and low hoses going into this old hole for the old antenna and the RV, and then it looped around and went to the old unit. And then I had to cut a new hole, and I'll show you where this goes down at. Well, it's kind of hidden, but these 4-gauge wires just go nicely right into one of these glands, and it goes right into the RV. So that's very handy to have those 4-gauge wires that fit right into this gland, and I'll show you the wires myself. I'll have to go grab the wires that this came with, and I'll show you, but this did come with a really nice set of 4-gauge wires. So mine run an extra long distance. That's why I have my own here, but theirs are plenty long and will work for most situations. Another feature that I really like about this one are these little feet right here. So where most of these make you use the foam, the same foam down below that seals around the 14 by 14 opening, these little feet screw into some little inserts, and you can actually adjust it so that it sits nice and level without using some foam that you might be afraid may or may not fall out. But there used to be a skylight here, so I removed that vent, the max speed vent, max air vent, and I installed this right where that was in its place. So I do have some of that footage, and I'll show you that. But yeah, that's the interior of this unit, and this is why I'm so impressed by it. Really this insulation that the others don't do, and then the insulation around the compressor. So we put it back together, and we'll go down and show you some more features. So here's my interior unit. It's already installed. I'll walk through that installation here in a minute. But here is everything else that this comes with. No, it does not come with the mini K-bar or my favorite channel locks. So let's start with the remote here. Here's the remote control. It comes with a remote control, the user's manual, all the rest of the hardware, the legs and the screws were in this kit. It's got some zip ties, and we've got some little zip tie hold downs, and then the extra bolts. And then this is the 12-foot whip that it came with a very hefty fuse on it. So this is a 6-gauge wire. So this is really good wire. The previous one that I had that actually consumed more power came with this 8, maybe even 10-gauge wire and this tiny little fuse. So I think it says 100 amps on it, but it's not at all. The one that this used, you can just tell the difference, was a higher consuming air conditioner. So this one came with these shorter bolts. So it is designed for a van or a different type of trailer. Obviously, this 5-inch ceiling is not your typical installation for this. So I talked to the manufacturer, and they said in their next batches of production line, they're going to have longer bolts. So when I show you the installation here in a second, you'll see the longer bolts that I bought, and these are longer, small bolts as well. So here's the small bolts that hold on the faceplate of the unit. This was a pretty easy installation for the most part, except for you see some of the components here for manufacturing the duct. So I did have to manufacture a duct, and I'll show you that here as well. This unit is below 70 pounds. So my son grabbed the unit, and so I got on the roof. My son came up the ladder with it, and he handed it to me, and I grabbed it, and I got a bad back and knee and ankle and all the things, and I was able to get it up here pretty nice and easily. So it was much easier than that monstrosity. So these are much lighter and much easier to put in here. So as I previously mentioned, it's 91 degrees outside, and I only have this hooked up to my Nudie Power 100 amp hour battery. All right, so that extra wiring gland that I talked about up top, this is where the old antenna used to be. So I've since deleted that. The old unit used to sit right here. I'll try to show a video if I can find it from my other one to move over. But those old cables used to run here, and that unit used to sit here because it's a wall-mounted unit. So now this is actually, much cleaner install. And if you want to check out the video of this antenna, this is a much better antenna than the one that was on the roof. So I swapped out with this one, and even being in this cabinet, it works great. That other gland that's up on the roof next to this one is actually above this post right here, this side of this cabinet. So there's a false side here, and I drilled a hole down from the roof into the side of this. I actually went up so I could hide it in here. So that wiring comes down into here, and it turns the corner 90 degrees, turns another corner, and back here is basically just a wiring chase. So it goes back in that wiring chase with a bunch of other wires. That was a trip. So you can see the install video of that with my other unit, but we were able to snake it through. I can't remember what we used, but we stuck it through there. And then there's another false side here and another false side here. So it comes down this cabinet and then down below the refrigerator here. So the actual battery is up here, basically underneath the passenger seat. And that is, one of the most difficult things that anyone's going to face when trying to wire a 12-volt unit to an existing RV like this one, or even a regular travel trailer, because I don't know if the RV manufacturers, well, they're not listening to my videos, but if they would, hopefully they would see what people are doing and actually put like 4-gauge wires just roughed in from the battery up here so that we don't have to go through this if we want to install a 12-volt system. Looking at the rest of the RV, I had no way to know or find, or it would have been extremely difficult to find how the wiring I could find a chase that goes down to the battery, because it doesn't really go down to the battery. There's a lot of wiring up under here, but it all goes back to the back of the coach of the RV to where all of where the breaker panel and all that is. So it doesn't just go straight down to the battery. So there's no good way to get the wires in, even though you could hide it up underneath these cabinets, and then down is the problem. So I just found that there was already a chase here once I opened up that panel inside this cabinet, and I saw the wires going and they already came down. And what we have here, and again, this Nudie power battery this is just temporary, just for testing for this purpose right now. But I have these bus bars. So I did install these 2 bus bars because there are 2-gauge wires that came in to my 1000 watt inverter that only runs the refrigerator. So this already had robust wiring coming in and running the refrigerator. So I just took those wires, and they're super long because they were designed, I guess, to go all the way to the back of the RV just in case you wanted to do something else. So I was able to cut them, put new terminals on them, run them to the bus bar, then 2 wires go back to the inverter, and then these wires that I ran, these 4-gauge wires, go to the bus bars. So that's how it's powered in my RV. Your situation is going to be different, but that was the easiest and best way for me to get this wiring over here. I think we're at about 20-ish feet of 4-gauge wire to get here. So because of everything else that goes through, it does lose a little bit of voltage. So running off my much larger RV battery, which is a 300 amp hour, it will lose voltage on the highest setting. This is my battery. It's an Aoki. I got it because it was the cheapest one on Walmart, and it still is the cheapest one on Walmart. It was $300 for 300 amp hours. It's like $310 now, or $315, but it's still the cheapest battery you can get. What I had to do, because there was 2 old lead acids here, I had to actually install a bus bar for the positive. The negative was kind of going to the ground, so there's only a couple of wires for negative, so it's not as big of a deal. But I did have to run a bus bar for the positive. So I have a 300 amp fuse because it's got it's a 200 amp RBMS, but I did go ahead and put in a 300 amp fuse. I've been thinking about dropping it to a 200 amp fuse to match the battery's 200 amp BMS, but it's running everything in the RV, so it's 300 for now. Then it comes up to this bus bar, and from the bus bar over here is a 100 amp breaker. That 100 amp breaker is where the wire that runs to basically my bus bars underneath the refrigerator are at. So that 100 amp fuse breaker is what it does. So I have a 300 amp fuse here, a 100 amp breaker, and then a 150 amp fuse on the battery itself. So if I'm wrong, I think that should be 200 and that should be 100 in there. And that's what I want to do, but it is what it is right now. So this 150 amp fuse does go down in that bus bar when it's connected in the appropriate fashion. But hey guys, I just wanted to jump in here and apologize if this video is a little bit disjointed, hard to follow. I think I did my best, but as I'm editing it, I realized that the jump here that goes to me actually doing all the installation on the inside doesn't make a lot of sense, because it was filmed chronologically a few days before this that you're about to see. I did the entire unboxing, talked through the unit, and then got it up on the roof. I lost all that footage except for a couple little pieces that you've already seen, so sorry about that. Let's get to me installing this interior portion and everything I went to ensure that it fit here on this abnormally thick roof. It's currently 85 in the RV. It is getting close to 90 outside. Talked to the manufacturer. They said that, yeah, the early kits don't have these, but their next kits are going to have these. So I'll tell them which ones I have. I think they already know, but they'll have these. And then I don't know about the drop-down extension, but I do have another thing that's coming today that will hopefully help with my installation. So once I figure it out, I'll show you what I made. I'm not going to show you something that doesn't work. So to get these bolts out of here, all I did was I just got this little pair of channel locks, and I just got up there and twisted it. I think it's like a 13. You can get a deep well 13 or something, but that's all I did. And Now I'll twist it out real quick. So now with this bolt here, when I put the nut on the threaded rod, I'm just gonna make sure it's the same depth. This nut is about 3/4 of an inch onto the rod, so it's up in that about 3/4 of an inch. I'll replicate that in the other one. The nuts are 13 millimeters, so I did go ahead and get a 13. Looks pretty good. I think I do have to go up and make sure those feet in the back are sitting where I want them, but otherwise, looks good. So these bolts that I installed these are M8 by 1.25. So I ordered two, they're 10 inches long, so not a big deal with the size. I'll make sure those other two work first before I let you know. I cut them down to 7 inches, and 7 inches seems to be just about perfect for holding this thing in place. So I like that, and those are stainless. They're pretty cheap, less than 10 bucks for a pair, and then the other ones came in 4 for less than 10 bucks. So quite affordable. But now I'm going to check on making a down duct for this. So I want to some way to I ordered a roll of like rubber, adhesive back rubber that's more rigid. So I'll check on that. That won't be here for a few hours, but I'll see if I can make something else and show you that real quick before I plug this thing in and hook up a battery and see maybe how long it'll last on 100 amp hours. All right, so these little ones I just cut to 5 5/8 inches, and what I say, these were 7 inches. So those little bolts are 4 millimeter by 0.7. So I cut those to 5 5/8 inches, and then these other ones are 10 by 70, or M8 by 1.25, M8 by 1.25, and I cut those both to 7 inches. So 7 inches and 5 5/8. Now I'm stuck because this is designed, so if you've got a camper, if you've got a smaller RV or potentially a smaller roof, if you're putting this in a trailer, this bar is going to sit tighter to the ceiling, and you're going to have a much thinner roof, right? So this thick roof, obviously I've had to adapt it and bring it down. So the problem is there's not enough space here to completely mesh this against the ceiling. So I've got a gap between the ceiling and the decorative shroud. So I've got to go figure something out for that. I'm thinking if I can just find some 1-inch thick weather stripping, then I'll just put that around the edges here. Might be really easy to do that. And then it won't look bad, and it'll have just a little bit of flexibility as it tightens up, so I'll be able to do it kind of loosely. So man, I really, really want to get this thing to work, but obviously that's a thing. So we'll see what we got. I've been doing a little bit of work here, so not much, just easy to walk through. First thing, if you notice, I went a little crazy with the foil tape, so I wanted to make sure this was sealed up really well. So it felt like in a crack here. These, I don't know what the ductwork for that 110 volt air conditioner, where it goes, but I'm assuming it uses this framing, and you could feel like a little draft or something. So I'm assuming it's terrible and it leaks into the roof. So that's, you know, all RV manufacturers. So I've also put this foam sealant. So this is foam window seal, extra large, that I picked up from Lowe's. So I use this little foil tape because it's just falling down like nobody's business. So the goal is that the plan is for this to just rest on it and just barely compress it. So not a big deal. It'll give me a little bit of a weather tight seal, but not too bad. So what I've done with the plenum here is I got this rubber, and I'll link this in the description. It's like 5-inch roll of sticky backed rubber, and it's like 60 inches long. So this is like 29 inches to go around here. I did line it with this PVC flashing I already had, and that's a roll you can pick up at Lowe's, but I cut this to about 4 inches so that I had extra, because there's 3 inches between the top of this plenum here and the bottom of that one. So this is 4 inches, so it gives me a little extra space here to seal. And then the other thing I did up here is, you see the foil tape, that's not from the manufacturer, that's just me holding that. There's some more foam there. That's not the same window foam, even though the window foam might have been just fine there. I had some camper seal, so it's a little bit thinner. So I think this will actually go inside of that, and it'll go inside of this duct I made, and it'll seal inside of the duct. So once it's gone up there, it's already gone pretty well. So I'm going to plug it in and put it in place and see what we got. Well, I forgot to record. Of course I did, because why wouldn't I? But it just kind of pushed up here into place. So not a big, you stupid pliers. These are nylock nuts that I got. So once they hit the threads, they start twisting the all thread stuff I got. So not quite the deal for this.
Welcome to use the intelligent oil control system for air conditioning. Please say hey to wake up.
Hey, Tutu,
Hi dear, I'm ready to assist you.
turn on the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is now on.
Set the temperature to 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, temperature set to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. See you later.
Well, it's already cold. Let's make sure there's no cold leaking out up here. I don't feel any cold leaking up here. So my duct worked. All right, I'll tell you, this thing is super quiet. I've got it on high cool right now, and it's quieter than that one. And we'll see what we got for amperage. So this says we're pulling 37 amps out of my battery and 296 watts, which is amazing. If it's only pulling 37 amps and 200 watts, that's awesome. I will hook up a 100 amp hour battery and test this tomorrow. It is dumping cold air in here and already dropping the temperature. It's 6:30 p.m. and you know, my installation turned out okay. I could have aligned this foam a little bit better, and maybe I still can, but it's up there, it's holding in place. So this plenum, unless I tape it with foil tape, I could just tape it all the way around with foil tape, but I just let the whole box be its own plenum. But I could tape it with foil tape. That would be not a bad idea, since this is just the intake air. And then I would know I'm not leaking any cold back into the intake. So before I get too far in this video, let me go ahead and explain why I've installed this air conditioner. So obviously it's only 10,000 BTU. If we're going to stop at a Cracker Barrel, we're going to boondock, it's not going to keep up with the heat that this RV generates, especially not being ducted. It's not going to get any of the air conditioned cold air back to the back of the RV. that's not why I had this. I installed this, and that's not why I had this previous one installed. I had it because when you're driving down the road, especially even when it's only 80 degrees out, 75 degrees out, the chassis in a lot of these RVs just heat up. It brings heat up from the ground, and then it just gets hot from the sun beating on the roof. And the cab AC cannot cool the passengers. It will get 85 plus back here if you don't turn on an air conditioner. The passengers are fine because the cold air is blowing directly on them, but it just doesn't make it back here. So what a lot of RV Class A owners end up doing is hitting the button and turning on the generator and then running 120 volts. The problem with that is that if you're driving down the road, the generator is consuming even more fuel. So you're just using a lot of extra fuel. So I installed this one, and I can't wait to actually go on a trip and find out how much it consumes while we're driving down the road with the alternator helping it out. We do have 200 watts of solar on this, and obviously you saw that 300 amp hour battery. So we're going to get a good amount of assistance from the alternator or from the solar and the battery. With the old RV, when we drove 5 hours with this thing running, and we were down to like 70%. So we were dropped about 30 or 40%. So we were at 60 or 70% when we got there of the battery remaining, because with the battery monitor, the lithium battery controller that's down by the battery, the alternator does not push. It pushes power to the battery for about 20 minutes, and then it turns off for 20 minutes. So it cycles that way so you don't burn up the alternator in this RV. So that's why we installed it. It's not for boondocking. It can be, but it is for the passengers when we're driving down the road. That's the biggest reason. But again, sitting here doing work on it, I don't have to fire up the generator. I don't have to start it. I don't have to plug it in. I can still do these things. And if it's a coolish night, it's not super hot in a Cracker Barrel parking lot or Walmart or wherever you're staying the night, you can just run this, and it's really quiet, and you don't have to run your generator. On a 400 amp hour battery, you're going to get over 10 hours of use. Currently almost 3:10 p.m. and I started running this at 2:30, so a little over a half an hour. That battery is already at 68%. So we have 51 amps and 671 watts of power that it is currently pulling. So on 100 amp hours, we have 1 hour and 18 minutes. And I know from previous experience, I've gone 2.5 hours on my old air conditioner with that battery until this battery completely depleted and turned off. And that was starting from 95 degrees in my boat. The problem with this is that the RV is much larger than this 10,000 BTU unit. So that's a 13.5 BTU unit, and we have another 13,000 BTU from the factory. It's 10,000 in the back. So we have two 120 volt units that it takes to cool this down on a day as hot as it is today, because it is scorching outside. Any of these ACs are going to be struggling to keep up. But this one sitting under it actually feels great, and it's pulling quite a lot of power. What we do have is strong mode, and then it's got the standard. It's right now we're in standard mode on a 4 fan, so we're at a fairly high setting for it. And then sleep mode is going to be your power saving mode. So at nighttime, you're going to get a lot more use out of it because it's going to drop a lot lower. So let's just see what happens when we put it in sleep mode right now. So the fan slowed down. I can hear it actually getting quieter outside. See, now we've dropped to 38 amps, 37 amps, 29 amps, 26 amps. My runtime has increased to almost 3 hours, 23 amps, and it's 300 watts. So 24 amps, 315 watts of power, which is actually pretty good, I think. So for sleep mode, and it's still cold. So there's still cold air coming out, but it's coming out definitely at a slower clip. And with as hot as it is outside, it's going to struggle to keep up. So I'm going to go back to what's going to keep me cool, because I'm hot right now. But let's check out a couple of other cool features with this air conditioner. All right, starting with our remote control, obviously the power button, there is a fan button. So that just sets it to fan only. And here's sleep mode, and regular air conditioning mode, and strong mode. And then there is a light built into the control panel. So you've got a light built into the control panel, fan up, down, temperature up and down. A few of these don't actually work. So there is a swing mode. So that outlet is swinging right now, and there's a button that makes it swing back and forth. And I like it pointing down directly at me, and I'll turn it off. You can actually hit the battery button and it'll tell you your voltage. So I've got 11.8 volts, and that'll drop down here in a second. It'll give you your temperature inside, so it's reading 82 degrees inside. Temperature outside, it says 59 degrees Fahrenheit. That is wholly inaccurate. So there is no thermometer outside, I believe. And then this is a different type of rotating that this one doesn't have. So that is the remote. This one also has Bluetooth. With Bluetooth here, you can switch between, you can set the temperature very easily. It tells you your voltage right away. It does the same thing: fan mode, sleep mode, cool, and turbo. You can set your fan speed here. So it's got this, both oscillating buttons just like the other one did. So the swing and then the other swing that this unit doesn't have. The light, and then ambiance. I'm not sure what ambiance is. I haven't tried it yet. Or I've tried it, but I don't know what it actually does. So nothing is happening. So not sure what ambiance does, but it does have an ambiance button. I'll leave it on. We'll see. It's got a sleep timer, and that's it for the Bluetooth remote. So the great thing about the Bluetooth remote is you can control it from a car. If you're outside of the vehicle, if you're in the back sleeping or something, you don't have to get up and push a button or find the remote. After a few minutes, the display will completely turn itself off. So if someone's sleeping here, my daughter likes to sleep on the couch instead of in one of the many beds we have in here, the unit will go off and it won't keep her awake. Ready to see the magic? Hey, iHooToo!
Hi, dear. I'm ready to assist you.
Turn on the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is now on.
Set to cooling mode.
Okay, cooling mode is activated.
Fan speed, level 3.
Okay, speed level 3 is set.
Turn on the light.
Okay, the light is on.
Turn off the light.
Okay, the light is on.
Turn off the light.
Okay, the light is off.
Turn on the swing.
Okay, the swing is on.
Turn off the swing.
Okay, the swing is on.
Turn off the swing.
Okay, the swing is off.
Turn off the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is off. Goodbye, master.
Hey, iHooToo, turn on the air conditioner.
Hi, dear. I'm ready to assist you.
Turn on the air conditioner.
Okay, the air conditioner is now on.
So yeah, these voice controls are quite impressive. This is the list of them. Obviously, you can set the temperature from 41 to 89 degrees. You can set the max wind speed. Hey, iHooToo,
Hi, dear.
Mac-
I'm ready to assist you.
max wind speed.
Okay, max wind speed is set.
Min wind speed.
Okay, max wind speed is set.
Min wind speed.
Okay, min wind speed is set.
All right, speed level 3.
Okay, speed level 3 is set.
I like level 3. Level 3 is good. You can change everything on it. So that's pretty cool, especially if you're sitting down and I want to cool it off a little more and everybody back here is not cool. You can just tell it, so you don't have to do anything. That is a pretty cool feature.
See you later.
And it calls you master once it turns off. So this thing is definitely working hard. So we're about an hour in and it already pulled 40% of the battery out, running at 50 amps and 600 watts of power because it's best to cool this place off. So let me turn it to strong mode. I like to call this Hercules because it's got this little guy doing his muscles. All right, so now we're going to ramp up to Hercules mode and we'll see what the power is. One thing about the voice control, when you have it on strong mode, it is hard to hear you. So in strong mode, the lady in the box has a hard time hearing you. So now we're up to 60 amps and 800 watts of power. So that BMS is running strong. So 60 watts, 800 amps is your max output on, cranking the power. So if you're gonna run this on high, that's your reading. 60 amps, 800 watts. All right, back to standard cooling and fan speed number 3. And we're dropping 50 amps, 650 watts. So it seems like when you're cooling 50 amps, 600 watts, 650 watts is kind of the sweet spot. This is decibel meter, and I'm sitting directly under it. And I'll be quiet right now, but it was about 50 decibels is where it was sitting at without me talking. So 54, let's see if sleep changes it at all. So it's in the 40s. So it is a pretty quiet unit compared to that one up there, which is closer to 70. That was just kind of, they're all those big 120 volt units are pretty annoying. Okay, well, final thoughts on this iHooToo air conditioner. I'm impressed. I like it. I like how quiet it is. I like how it's just as cold as my previous unit. I like the sleek look, you know, how it actually fits on the roof. It looks great on the roof compared to what was on the roof before. It's running quietly. It's running efficiently. Again, it's 91 degrees outside, so it's pushing hard to keep this RV cool. It's not going to be able to keep up. So running a test at night when it's in more ideal conditions and it can actually cool the RV would be a better test. I bet I can get 5 or 6, maybe 6.5 to 7 hours out of one 100 amp hour battery. This upgraded inverter style dual rotor compressor is also impressive. I like it so far. It seems to be working great. It is extremely quiet. The other unit was quiet too. They're all kind of quiet, but this one is even more quiet. This internal unit is quiet as well. Those other types of units are called scroll compressors, and this one has a higher efficiency, quieter operation, and it's supposed to last longer, so that's good as well. All these units do advertise their super fast cooling, and when you set this to strong mode and you're in a space that is adequate for the size of the air conditioner, it can cool it down quickly from as hot as 120 degrees, you know, down into to get into the 70s. It can cool it down in as little as 3 minutes. That's what they advertise. It's not going to be possible to test it in this RV because, again, this RV needs like 3 times the amount of cooling that has. And that's not the purpose why it's installed in this RV. The Bluetooth and voice control are also what sets this thing apart. I talked about it being a game changer. Everybody calls these air conditionings a game changer. With the voice control and the ability to just, if you put this in your van or your small Class C or you know, even a Class A like this, or you have a food trail, I don't know, whatever you're going to put it in, just be able to say, hey, iHooToo, you know, change the temperature, set whatever, change the fan speed, turn it down, turn it up. That's awesome, and I really like that feature. It's a feature that none of the rest of these have. So stay tuned for a little more on this. Obviously, I'm going to give an update after we go on a trip. During the trip, as much as possible, I'm going to update on this. I'm going to go ahead and see how long this battery will run this thing. So I'll come back out here a couple of times. I'm going to keep it on this mode right here, working really hard. When I tested my other one in the boat and it lasted 2.5 hours, the boat is a very small space. So once it got it down from 90 plus degrees to 70, it was, you know, it was cycling down to the really low amps, you know, down into the teens. This one is going to have a hard time doing that because of the size of this RV and how hot it is outside. I'm sitting under it and I feel great. So sitting under it, this unit feels great. So if I was sleeping here, I think I'd be feeling awesome. And if it was cooler, this air conditioner would do great. Thanks, guys. Like, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. All right, we've lost voltage. So this does have low voltage protection. So that battery has run out. When you look at the Bluetooth, it says 1%, and I'm using the phone right now, so I can't show you the Bluetooth, but it lasted 2.5 hours. So about the same with the other one, except this was probably pushing even harder than the other one. So charge it up, run another test with the 300 amp hour. Let's go.